And Trump's first 100 days out of office could prove just as crucial to his brand. Trump hotels and golf businesses have been hammered by the pandemic, as the president will leave office $500 million poorer and historically unpopular. Good morning, everyone. It's Tuesday, January 19th, 2021. It's President Trump's final full day in office, and this is Take Charge. It's where I get you caught up on the day's top news and help make sense of it all. Let's get going. Good morning, everyone, and thanks so much for tuning in this morning. There's a lot of news coming out of Washington. Let's start with Janet Yellen, who in 1 hour will face the Senate in one of 5 confirmation hearings taking place today. Biden picked Yellen to run the Treasury Department, but once in front of the Senate Finance Committee today, she'll have to sell his $1.9 trillion economic recovery plan. Here with more on what to expect from her hearing is Bloomberg's Christopher Condon. Christopher, thanks so much for joining us on Quicktake this morning. Yellen spent years as Fed chair, of course, and vice chair too. Selling a stimulus package, though, is markedly different than that. What can we expect from her as she steps into this new role?
Well, you're absolutely right that as Fed chair, Janet Yellen was only taking economic arguments so far. Fed chairs are always wary about coming off as instructing lawmakers on what they should or should not do in their own area of authority, that is passing laws, appropriating money. Fed chairs generally provide kind of a diagnosis of the economy, but stop short of advising what the therapy or prescription should be. Now, this is entirely different now today. She is a salesperson, as you said, for Joe Biden's initial economic packages designed to boost the economy, help it out of this hole that the pandemic has put it into. Her testimony does not get into a lot of details, but it's telling that one of the key arguments that she's going to make is why lawmakers should not overly worry about the size of the national debt. She has spoken in the past how there are times to worry about that. She is not one of these subscribers to modern monetary theory, which says basically that debt can be pretty much ignored. But she will say that there are times to worry about that and times not to worry about that. And this is not one of those times. When the economy has stalled and a lot of people are suffering, private demand is down. Now is the time for government to come in and bridge that gap. Well, interest rates are down. That will help speed things up. The government has got to kind of bridge the gap until the time when private demand can ramp up again. So she's going to be telling lawmakers, yes, I think it's important to talk about the national debt, but not right now. Let's get the economy going, first of all.
So apart from convincing lawmakers that the national debt is not something to focus on right now, which is certainly going to be a tall task, where do you expect her to meet the most resistance from Republican lawmakers when it comes to policies that have been outlined already in this $1.9 trillion package?
Well, I think, first of all, the size of it. Absolutely, Republicans are going to object to the size of it over the debt issue. And they just may simply not buy her arguments for why the economy needs this size. Also, they'll talk about what is in it. Democrats, admittedly, are trying to pack in all sorts of things that Republicans will object to, and probably argue that some of it is not well targeted. And I would even say that some Democrats also will worry about how well targeted some of these measures are. Take the additional $1,400 checks that the program proposes. That's on top of the $600 checks that many American households are already receiving. Some people will, I think, quite legitimately argue that many of the recipients of the additional $1,400 will not necessarily go right out and spend that. Many of them have not had any interruption in their employment. And so that's not well targeted. You want the recipients of this money to go out and spend it. Give it to businesses, and then they will in turn, pass it on to their suppliers, et cetera. Have it rapidly proceed through the economy. But if you're going to sit on it, that doesn't help that much.
Well, given the makeup of the new Senate, where Democrats have just the slimmest majorities, thanks to Vice President-elect Kamala Harris, how much does it matter at this point if Democrats, or if Republicans, excuse me, buy the plan?
Well, it matters on which route the Biden administration hopes to pass legislation. There is the normal route, which would require 60 votes to close off debate in the Senate. So if they want to go that route, then they're going to have to get 10 Republican senators on board. If they say, no, we can't do it, we'll go down the route of a certain number of what they call reconciliation bills can be passed, they only require 50 plus one. But in that case, folks like Joe Manchin from West Virginia, who is relatively quite conservative, we're talking about within the Democrats, they have to be convinced to stay on board. And Joe Manchin has already expressed some reservations about these proposals. So either way, it's a bit of a tricky task for the Biden administration to get much of what it wants.
Bloomberg's Christopher Condon. Hey, Christopher, thanks so much for your time and for joining us this morning on Quick Take. Well, President-elect Biden is said